There is a fear that lives quietly inside most people. It doesn't denounce itself. It doesn't shout. It just sits there, in the background of your decisions, shaping what you choose and what you avoid. It is the fear of being average. And here's the strange thing. Society has trained you to fear the wrong version of it. When people say they don't want to be average, they usually mean they don't want a simple life. They don't want the steady job, the modest house, the predictable routine. They have been taught to see stability as failure, to see a quiet, peaceful life as somehow beneath them. But that is not what an average life actually is. A person can live simply, with a family they love, work that is honest, and days that are calm, and still be fully alive inside. That is not average. That is chosen. That is conscious. That is, in many ways, the hardest thing a person can do. The real average life is not about what you have or what you earn. It is about what happens inside you when the years pass. It is the slow, almost invisible replacement of courage with comfort. It is the moment you stop asking hard questions about yourself because the answers became too inconvenient. That is the danger. Not stability, stagnation. And the terrifying part is that stagnation does not feel like failure. It feels like relief. Think about how it happens. Not in one dramatic moment, in small ones. You stop sharing the idea because it might be wrong. You stop applying for the thing because rejection feels worse than never trying. You stop questioning your own thinking because it is too uncomfortable to discover you might have been mistaken for years. Each of these decisions feels reasonable in the moment, safe, mature even. You tell yourself you're being practical. You tell yourself you're protecting your energy, your reputation, your peace. But what you're actually protecting is your self-image. And your self-image, left unexamined, will quietly become a prison. There is a part of every human mind that works like a defense attorney. Its entire job is to protect the story you have built about yourself. The story that says you are smart, capable, reasonable, a good person who makes good choices. The moment something threatens that story, a failure, a contradiction, a hard truth, this part of your mind moves quickly to dismiss it. Psychologists call this the ego, not in the arrogant sense, in the deeper sense. The part of you that needs to feel consistent, safe, coherent. The part that will choose being right over being better, every time if you let it. And most people let it. Here is what nobody tells you about growth. It does not feel like strength, not at first. It feels like loss. When you genuinely learn something new about yourself, something that challenges the way you have always seen yourself, there is a small moment of collapse, a moment where the old version of you has to step aside for something more honest to take its place. That moment is uncomfortable. Sometimes it is humiliating. Sometimes it feels like grief. That is ego death. And it is not a dramatic spiritual event. It happens in small, ordinary moments. It happens when you admit you were wrong in an argument, not just politely, but genuinely. When you share work you are not sure is good enough. When you ask for help in an area where you wanted to appear competent. When you stay in the uncertainty of not knowing instead of reaching for an easy answer. These moments feel small. They are not. They are exactly where transformation lives. Anthony Bourdain spent years in professional kitchens. He was talented, disciplined, and skilled in the way that only comes from years of hard, unglamorous work. By his late 30s, he had reached a level of stability that most chefs would have accepted gratefully. He was an executive chef. He had earned his place. He could have stayed there. And a part of him wanted to, because stability, once you have fought for it, has a powerful gravity. It tells you that you have already paid enough, that you have earned the right to stop risking. But Bourdain wrote. He had always written. And at some point, he submitted an essay to the New Yorker. Not because he was certain it was good enough, not because success was guaranteed, but because the alternative was silence. The alternative was a version of himself he could not respect. That essay became the foundation of Kitchen Confidential. That book changed his life completely. Not because he had a perfect plan, because he made one small decision to risk being wrong, to risk being rejected, to let something uncertain out into the world rather than keep it safe inside where no one, including him, would ever have to judge it. That is not a story about talent. It is a story about what happens when you stop protecting yourself from the possibility of failure. You do not need to change your entire life to change your life. That is one of the most important things to understand. Transformation is not built in grand moments. It is built in small risks taken consistently. The email you send when you are not sure how it will land. The opinion you voice in the room where you usually stay quiet. The project you begin before you feel ready. The apology you offer before you are certain the other person deserves it. None of these feel significant. All of them are. Because what you are really practicing is not the skill itself. You are practicing the tolerance for uncertainty. And that tolerance, built slowly over time, is the actual foundation of a meaningful life. The people you admire, the ones who seem to live with genuine purpose, did not find a secret formula. They learned, mostly through failure, to be less afraid of being wrong. They stopped needing every decision to confirm their self-image. They became, in small ways, willing to be uncomfortable without interpreting that discomfort as danger. The safe decisions feel protective now, but follow them forward in time. The idea you never shared, someone else eventually shares it, and you watch from a distance, quiet and a little hollow, knowing you had it too. The relationship you avoided because it required vulnerability. You look back and realize that distance was not wisdom, it was fear in formal clothing. The version of yourself you were building toward, slowly abandoned because the daily risk of becoming it felt like too much. This is how regret is made. Not in catastrophic moments, in thousands of small surrenders you barely noticed at the time. And here is the hardest part. No one will ever show you the life you could have had. There is no mirror for that. You will simply feel, somewhere inside yourself, a gap between who you are and who you sense you are capable of being. And that gap does not close with success or money or status. It closes with honesty, with risk, with the willingness to be wrong and keep going anyway. So, here is what I want you to consider tonight. Not the life you want in 10 years, not the goals on your list, something smaller and more immediate. Where are you protecting yourself right now? Where is comfort doing the job that courage should be doing? What conversation are you avoiding? What work are you hiding? What belief about yourself are you defending because examining it honestly might mean admitting something difficult? You do not have to blow up your life. You do not have to make a dramatic gesture. You just have to be willing, in one small area, to stop protecting yourself so carefully. To let something uncertain out. To be wrong in front of someone. To begin before you are ready. To say the honest thing instead of the safe thing. Not because it will definitely work. It might not. But because the alternative is a life that slowly closes in on itself. Not through tragedy, but through the 1,000 small refusals to step into the unknown. The real danger of an average life is not that you chose peace or simplicity or a quiet routine. It is that you chose comfort over the truth of who you could still become. There is still time. There is still something in you that knows the difference between being genuinely at peace and being quietly afraid. Listen to that part. Not to the loud, dramatic voice that wants everything at once, to the calm, steady part that simply asks, what would you do if you were slightly less afraid of being wrong? Start there. That is enough.